Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of On the Sidelines. My name's Matt William Rooney,
My name is Benedict Rhodes.
and we hope everyone is continuing to stay safe during what continues to be crazy times with COVID-19. Uh, have you been getting up to anything, Ben, lately?
Not really. I mean, just a lot of homework, just getting back into the swing of things in school, and other than that, not a whole lot, of course. And what about yourself?
Yeah, same for me. Just school and work are really the only two things, the main things going on right now. Yeah. But I mean, we do have a lot of sports at least to entertain us, which we'll obviously get into with our first topic, the NFL playoffs. Of course, the conference championships took place in the AFC and NFC this weekend on Sunday, I should say, with the Bills hosting the Chiefs and the AFC, or sorry, the Chiefs hosting the Bills on the AFC side, and the Packers hosting the Bucks on the NFC side. So, I guess Ben, do you want to start with the AFC championship?
Yeah, AFC was an interesting game. The big storyline, I guess, going into the game was would Patrick Mahomes be healthy? And if he was healthy, would he be 100% healthy after suffering a concussion in the divisional round? Um, and he was healthy. He was very, very good as well. Um, and the Chiefs beat the Bills in the end. So as I mentioned, the main storyline I guess was Patrick Mahomes, and also the Bills. The Bills made some interesting decisions throughout that game. There was a couple of times where on a fourth down, for example, they decided to kick a field goal or something instead of going for a touchdown, which is interesting. Um, and I think the game I think in some ways the Bills lost that game more than the Chiefs won the game, if that makes sense. Um, but overall, I think the Chiefs did deserve to win and did look at the better team.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd say that yeah, it was there was some interesting calls, as you said, from the Bills side. I mean, um, and Josh Allen, I mean, he definitely didn't look like what we talked about going into the game with his how he's been a top three MVP candidate this year, and like how explosive he's been. I mean, they were good on offense. It was just the defense that gave up 38 points. But obviously, when you play against Mahomes, I mean, and weapons like Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, for example, like of course you're gonna probably be bound for giving up a lot of points, which obviously the Bills did. But yeah, I mean, I was saying like if Mahomes obviously came off of a concussion protocol after what turned out to be an injury that he suffered last or 2 weeks ago in the divisional game against the Browns. But yeah, obviously that it didn't look like he looked at like any kind of injury. So I mean, yeah, it was just his old self, I would say.
Yeah, he
Uh,
definitely couldn't tell that he had a concussion, or had dealt with a concussion, I guess. So I think the Chiefs will be very happy with that, and everyone seems to be ready and firing.
yeah, and obviously the Bills shouldn't look down from this kind of game because I would say that they would be back for another competitive season next year. But I mean, obviously we'll have to see what free agency and all the draft when the draft happens and everything. We'll see what happens there. Um, I guess now with the NFC championship game, obviously coming into this game, the big matchup was Tom Brady against Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Brady, with the final result, looked like his old playoff self as he beat the Packers 31-26 on Sunday afternoon. He threw for 280 yards, but the thing was he had three touchdowns and three interceptions, which was kind of concern for Brady. But obviously, it didn't matter in the end. I think the Packers, like the Bills, they made some questionable calls. I think one of the calls was kicking a field goal, with like 2 minutes left in the game or so, when they had to go for a touchdown to even keep themselves in that game. Um, and so I think it's calls like that that were concerning for the Packers. And obviously that's why Tampa came up on top at the end.
I agree. I think one thing everyone's been saying for weeks, years, decades, I guess, is never bet against Tom Brady, and um, I think he his fuel, I guess, is people saying that he's too old, he's not good enough, and this year moving to a new bad team, and how's he gonna make them good, and is he gonna miss the playoffs, and then he gets into the Super Bowl, right? Like, um, Aaron Rodgers does have some stuff to be disappointed about, I think, with some of the decision making, as you mentioned that field goal at the end. But again, I think Tom Brady still proves he's a very good quarterback in the NFL, and this game was more proof of that.
Yeah, I think even the situation's kind of similar to what Mahomes has on offense. Like, of course, he has a lot of weapons he can throw to or rush the ball to. But I mean, yeah, he has, of course, like Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, his former Patriot teammate. So I mean, yeah, it's like a similar situation with KC, where I mean, the offense can go on a like some kind of crazy run, and like I mean, obviously, Brady did kind of play lesser to what Aaron Rodgers played because he had a better Aaron Rodgers had a better stat, a stat like throwing yards wise because he threw through almost 350 yards. So, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't say he was better than Rodgers on Sunday, but obviously, as we know now, in the end, it didn't matter.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I guess now I'll say because I mean I did talk about the Bills maybe potentially being a contender next year. Do you think that would be the same for the Packers?
Honestly, why not? I guess the big story, I guess, is will Aaron Rodgers stay in Green Bay? Like, I think if I'm the Green Bay, I'm doing everything to bring him back. Right? Like, there's not many elite quarterbacks available, I suppose. Unless they want to try and trade for Deshaun Watson, who this morning apparently requested a trade out of away from the Texans. So um, unless you're going to flip Aaron Rodgers for an elite quarterback who can start right now, then I don't think he's going anywhere. And as long as he's around, they'll always have a chance, I think. But I think if the Packers were also smart this year, they'll use their draft picks and free agency and stuff to get Aaron Rodgers some of those weapons. Like last year, the big controversy, I guess, in the draft was they drafted a quarterback in the first round, which he didn't like. And I imagine this year is going to be sort of the year, or next year, I guess, rather, is going to be the year where the Packers are going to either give him what he needs to win another Super Bowl, give him all the receivers and whatever he wants, or um, maybe a year from now, again, we're talking about is Aaron Rodgers going to leave? So sort of depends, sort of in their court, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would say obviously they are going to be a contender again. I think obviously you can't go wrong with Aaron Rodgers when you have him at quarterback. Um, I know going into the season, obviously when they drafted a quarterback with their first round pick, as you just mentioned, I mean, obviously it didn't help with getting him any offensive weapons because there's I think obviously a lot to choose from at the time. But I mean, I would say that yeah, the Packers are still a contender, but it's the question of can they actually win an NFC Championship game because this is the second straight year that we're seeing that obviously they're not making it to the Super Bowl as they obviously lost to the Niners in last year's NFC Championship game. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of them getting over the hump and getting the weapons that Rodgers needs. I know people obviously are talking about Rodgers leaving the Packers. I mean, I'd be crazy to even consider Aaron Rodgers leaving a team like Green Bay. But I mean, yeah, as long as they have Rodgers and they get some offensive weapons and maybe free agency or in the draft, I think that they'll be a contender again next year.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said before, I think it's the ball's in Green Bay's court. I think like they need to sort of make it happen now, right? I believe they're 1-4 or 1-5 in NFC conference finals with Aaron Rodgers. I think it's 1-4, so um, that needs to change, I guess, right? Like they're like he's getting old, but he's also still an elite player in this league. We've been talking about him as probably the MVP, so um, I think now is the time to take advantage of that while he still has gas left in the tank.
Yeah, and it's definitely been a long time since we've seen the Packers win a Super Bowl. Obviously, the last one was with Rodgers, and that's been his only Super Bowl with the team. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to just see what they do, and yeah, I think it was 10 years ago since they beat Pittsburgh, if I'm not wrong, in the Super Bowl. So yeah, it's just it's just a matter of time for them to hopefully get back to where they were 10 years ago, and yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. Um, I guess now we'll focus on the Super Bowl, which is actually a historic Super Bowl in a way because it's going to be the first time we see a team hosting the Super Bowl in their home arena. Of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are hosting it, and they're allowing just around 22,000 fans into the stands for that game. Yeah, I guess. Do you think? I'll ask you, Ben. Do you think home field will be a big advantage for Tampa Bay in this Super Bowl against Kansas City?
Yeah, when I first heard that stat that no team has hosted a Super Bowl before, that like blew my mind. Like I thought like this is what Super Bowl 55, I think.
Yeah,
Like to have 55 years with no no team playing a game in their home stadium is insane, right? Like I think that's a huge advantage. Obviously, when you're playing against Patrick Mahomes and the best team in the league, arguably in the Chiefs, you know the advantages you can get, and having Tom Brady and playing at home are two of the best advantages you can get. So I do think this is going to be beneficial to them. Especially 22,000 fans. That's a pretty big number, more than any other team has had this season. So um, if the crowd is lively and they're back in their team, I think that'd be a huge advantage for them.
yeah. I would say that. Yeah, I think it's going to help them in trying to win the Super Bowl. I'm not going to say right now who's going to win it because you have to watch out for when we make our predictions for our Super Bowl video. But um, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's going to help them a lot. Obviously, they're going to be used to all the facilities, obviously the field too. Um, but I mean, obviously, when you have an offense like we just talked about with the Kansas City Chiefs coming into town, it's going to be a little bit tougher this time around. I mean, I think they lost. They came with a close. It was a close loss against Kansas City the one time that they met this year, and it was in Tampa Bay too. So um, I mean, yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was a very close game. So I mean, I'll say that it helps them. I don't know for sure if it will make like give them a chance to win the Super Bowl, but well, obviously you can't go wrong with Brady and the Tampa Bay home fans cheering them on. I think there will obviously still be a good portion of Chiefs fans there, but I think maybe mostly Tampa Bay Bucks fans.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's gonna be it's the best game of the year, of course, right? It's the Super Bowl, um, and finally having a big crowd, hopefully a safe crowd. It's gonna be quite the event, I think. And as you mentioned, we'll do a Super Bowl video over the next week or so and get that out there too.
Yeah, and just to say before we move on, the last time that they faced in November, Kansas City was up 17-0 before they won 27 to 24. So obviously, if Tampa Bay gets into that kind of hole this time around, it'll be tough to get back into a game with that kind of score in the
Yeah,
after the first quarter.
I'm blanking on his name right now, but the one of the tight ends for the Raiders was on First Take this morning with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman, and he said that like the Buccaneers are the best defensive team in the league that he's played against. So if they can do the same thing to Travis Kelsey and and Tyreek Hill, then this game could be a lot closer than we might think.
Yeah, definitely can't wait for it. Obviously, the biggest game of the year, and yeah, we'll just have to. I guess we're a week and a couple of days away now from the Super Bowl 55, so can't wait for that. I guess anything else in the NFL before we move on?
No, I think I'm good for NFL. The rest we'll discuss next week.
Yeah, for sure. I guess now we'll move on to the NHL, which has just gone through 2 weeks of its season, its early season. And obviously, the big division for us as Canadian fans, or probably close to Leafs fans too, a little, but as North Division fans, I should say, none of these games have been. I should say all these games have been pretty fun to watch. maybe with an exception of one team that's kind of made it lackluster, but we'll get into that. But yeah, any takeaways so far, at least from like the past week or so?
Yeah, I think you mentioned like all these games have been exciting. We're seeing some exciting rivalries sort of start up, and still a long way to go, of course, as well. So um, it's getting more physical. It's getting more exciting. Teams are starting to chirp a lot more, as we'll get to in 1 second. Um, yeah, I'm really enjoying this division so far, and I can't wait for the rest of the season for sure. How about you?
Yeah, it's definitely been exciting. I mean, there's been a lot of very entertaining games, and I'm just thinking of the one with Edmonton and Winnipeg um, when Edmonton shot a game-winning shot, literally with the like a buzzer-beating game-winning shot in the third period. So it's games like that that make this division very exciting. And obviously, every game is going to count more because it's a 56 game season, and you're only playing against six other teams in your division. So it's obviously going to be a tight division, I would say, for the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. All these teams, other than maybe one, as you said, are looking good. In an individual game, I think every team could beat any other team. Over the longer stretch of the season, we're starting to see some teams look better than others, as we'll also get to. But do you want to mention one of them?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess obviously one of the matchups that we saw in the past week was the Leafs and Flames. And as you mentioned, there is a sort of a rivalry now with both these teams, as we were looking forward to talking about going to the season. Um, when the Leafs beat the Flames, I think it was 4-3 on Tuesday. Kachuk kind of got salty, I would say, at the end with Jake Muzzin flipping the puck to him at the end there, and then obviously he started a fight with and tried to even fight with Jake Muzzin there, but obviously he definitely looked mad at the end, walking into the locker room. But it's just it's things like that that make as I said this division exciting, and more rivalries are sort of brewing too. But yeah, that's obviously one sort of series because we're talking about 2 game, 3 game series this year. I guess I'll say that the Leafs and Flames the past week has been a good series to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I think like Kachuk, right? He's an agitator. Everyone knows that. He knows that too. He's the best at it in the league, I think. Like a couple days ago, he fell on the back of the Leafs goalie Campbell, um, and that caused a lot of problems. And then you mentioned Muzzin flipping the puck at him at the end of the game, sort of giving a taste of his own medicine, I guess. Like sort of, oh, you lost, here, have this puck, kind of thing. Um, and Kachuk had that meltdown in the tunnel. So, um, yeah, as you said, like this Leafs and Flames rivalry, I think might be one of the best ones to look for during the rest of the season. Um, Kachuk versus like the entire Leafs team is going to be fun to watch. Um, and yeah, I think all these teams are going to start to build these rivalries, and that one's the one that's sort of starting to fuel a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess I would say another team to look out for is the Montreal Canadiens, who are in second right now with 10 points, just 2 points behind the division leading Leafs. What do you think about Montreal so far and how they've looked against their competition?
I think they looked really good. Like I think I believe they're one of only 4 teams left in the league who hasn't lost in regulation yet. And they played 6 times, I believe, with 4 wins and 2 overtime losses. I think they're the only team in the North Division who hasn't lost in regulation yet. So they look really good. With a couple of wins, if they win the 2 games they have in hand over the Leafs, they'll be in first. Yeah, they look really good from top to bottom. Like Carey Price looks decent in net. A couple of defenders are stepping up. Jonathan Drouin is scoring points up top, and yeah, this team looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean they've only faced Vancouver in the past week since Wednesday. So I mean I'll say that obviously from that 3 game series, with the exception of the Wednesday last Wednesday's shootout loss, which was 6-5 to Vancouver, was other than that they've looked great this year. And as you said, they are four. They have 4 wins and 2 overtime losses, which is pretty good for a team that doesn't even have one like a regular regulation loss yet. But yeah, definitely I would say Carey Price has looked great in net, and they have also had a couple additions to their roster too that have made some big impacts so far. But yeah, I mean, I would say going forward that they're definitely a team to look out for.
Yeah, and also the good thing about overtime losses, of course, is you still get the 1 point, as you mentioned. So they've played 6 games, they've lost 2 of them, but it's as if they won 5 because they still picked up the 2 single points. So um, yeah, that if you're gonna lose games, lose them in overtime. And as long as and they're showing that they're competitive, they can still take teams into overtime even if they are losing. So um, yeah, this Montreal team looks pretty good.
Yeah, and there's also another team. I actually we're about to forget to say the that had a trade, a big trade this past weekend. With the Winnipeg Jets, of course,
Mm.
we're trading Patrick Laine to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Pierre-Luc Dubois. My bad, almost forgot his name there. But yeah, obviously, I think both players were looking to get traded from their respective teams. But yeah, what would you say about that trade and how it helps each team?
Yeah, I think it was an interesting one. Like both those players, as you mentioned earlier, they both wanted to trade out of their markets, and for them to be traded for each other is pretty funny. I think in a way, both teams will be disappointed, I guess, that they lost their best player, but also happy to get someone good in return. But if I'm Pierre Luc Dubois, I'm especially happy right now. I think because like Columbus didn't really have the players around him that he needed to get more points and uh, and potentially go far into a playoff series if they were to get into the playoffs. So now that he's in Winnipeg, I think he'll be a lot happier now. Of course, with like the players he has around him, like Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, Stastny, Kyle Connor. Like they have a lot of good players on that team, and if I'm Pierre Luc Dubois, I'm very happy with that trade.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, like it was kind of interesting to see both both players who wanted to be traded from their respective teams just literally swap. Uh, and yeah, I think this trade definitely helps out Winnipeg, and as you mentioned, the talent they have on their team. I mean, also I think even for Columbus with players they already have like Max Domi, for example, adding Patrick Laine, and obviously when they have Nick Foligno too as well, they have a lot of talent on that roster. So I think that will help out Columbus too. I think I would say maybe this trade helps out Winnipeg more, just from from that kind of perspective. But yeah, I think it's more of a win, I would say, for Winnipeg. But obviously, it can change because you never know what happens with this kind of season. But yeah, for
Yeah.
now, I'd say Winnipeg.
And one thing they brought up, I'm not going to say I made up this thing, because I kind of stole from Tim and Sid, but um, one thing that they mentioned was every Canadian professional sports team, like in any sport, has this fear of trading their best player, right? Like we've seen it in every single sport, like especially Toronto teams, like their best player goes to another team and they end up being better than they were in Toronto. So um, I imagine the Jets fans are a little bit worried about that. Line going to Columbus and being incredible. But they got a more than capable player in return, of course, in Pierre Luc Dubois. And then, um, so only time will tell, of course, with that one.
Yeah, we'll have to see obviously as the season progresses how who looks better on which team, and then I guess we'll reflect on that when the
Sure.
season when it gets in later into the season. Um, I guess I know we've been talking about a lot about the North Division, but obviously we can't look away to the three other divisions which take place down south. But which one would you say out of the three U.S. divisions has been competitive?
I think the best division in the states so far has been the Central Division. And since it's the closest division from first to last place, there's only 4 points separating them, with the Predators in first and the Hurricanes in eighth. Um, Although some teams have played a lot more games than others. For example, the Stars and the Panthers have only played 3 games each, but they're still right in the middle of the pack there. I think they're in fourth and fifth in that division, despite playing like 4 games less than the Predators at the top of that division. So when as teams play more games, I guess the division will open up a bit more. Um, but after the first few weeks of the season, anyway, I think that's been the closest division and probably the best one I'd say outside the North Division.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that Central has been competitive so far. For me, I'm going to say it's been the East so far. Um, I think going into the season, this was probably listed as one of the probably the first or second best division because of all the the cup contenders that can potentially come out of that division. Of course, with the Capitals, Bruins, Flyers, and Penguins, just to name a few, who are all in the top four right now in their division. Um, but yeah, I think it's been a pretty competitive division so far. With Pittsburgh and Boston just faced recently, that was an exciting game. And of course, with with Washington and Boston facing off sooner than later will be fun to watch as well. But yeah, I think just in general, it's been a competitive season and or a competitive division, and obviously there's the fifth and sixth place right now with the Devils and Sabres. I think maybe one of those teams can potentially sneak in if they have some kind of a big run in the coming months. But yeah, I'd say right now it's been competitive.
I think the Sabres are an interesting team to watch, as I mentioned, because Taylor Hall, of course, on that team now. Jack Eichel's one of the best young players in the league as well. So I think they're maybe not primed for a good run, but I think the tools on their team capable of making a good run. So definitely be interesting to see if they can break into the top 4 in that division.
Yeah, and as you mentioned too, as the more games pass by, obviously the more the standings will change. But yeah, it's interesting too of looking at the other division. We didn't talk about the West. Everybody has played 7 games, which is very interesting to see considering all the all the different like scheduling changes and all that we've seen like in the Central Division, which has been pretty impacted so far with COVID. Um, and actually too with Vegas from the Western Conference getting their game tonight against St. Louis was postponed because of some COVID issues there. But yeah, obviously this is all going to be kind of. I mean, it's obviously going to be an issue that doesn't go away anytime soon. But yeah, they'll just NHL will just have to adapt to it, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully, as you kind of mentioned, like they get this under control. It's not going to go away, but um, definitely by the end of the season anyway, and they need to get under control before they have to postpone too many games. But um, yeah, hopefully, most of the COVID issues are behind us.
Yeah, and I guess before we move on, anything else on NHL you want to bring up?
Um, well, one team we didn't mention, I guess, was the Senators.
Oh yeah.
We were kind of hopeful, maybe from a neutral perspective, that the Senators would be pretty competitive this year. They have their new rookie Tim Stützle, who's unfortunately been injured for a couple of games or out of the lineup anyway. Um, but the Senators, they do look kind of bad. They have 1 win, 5 losses, and 1 overtime loss through the first 7 games. Currently at the basement of the North Division. So, what have you made of the Senators so far this season? I guess.
Just as we thought they would be. There's they've just I mean obviously I know they're sort of in a rebuild situation right now, but I would say definitely it's especially with how they've looked against a team like Vancouver so far this week. It's just I'd just say it's who we thought I knew who they would be going into this year, a bad team, and that's what they've been so far.
Yeah. Like I said, Tim still hasn't really played all the games yet, and hasn't gone too into the games he has played in. Did score a really good goal in one of the games, sort of half volleying, I guess, off the ice, and it was a good goal. But they need a lot more than 1 goal from Tim Stützle if they're going to be anywhere close to competitive this year. Of course, the whole division can't be competitive. So one team is always going to have to give at least, and that team was always going to be the Senators, I think. But um, bit disappointing for them to already be looking like the last place team after just 7 games.
Yeah, definitely. And there's going to be two teams too, like two good teams that are going to miss the playoffs too, I would say. Because, I mean, outside of Ottawa,
Yeah.
there's six good Canadian teams in that division. So, I mean, obviously there's going to be two teams left out, and we'll just have to see what happens.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Who's your top four at the moment on current form?
Oh, in the division, I'd say Leafs, Canadians. Uh, I know Jets are third, so Jets, and I guess the fourth team, uh, probably Edmonton.
Yeah, I
How
agree
about
with that.
same for you?
Um, yeah, I think the Canucks are currently in that fourth spot with 2 points more than Edmonton, but Edmonton has a game in hand, and also Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, of course. So um, I do like Edmonton as that fourth team. I think it'll definitely
Yeah,
be interesting to see that. I think that fourth spot is the one that's the most up for grabs.
yeah, it'll definitely be competitive going to the next couple months. Um, yeah, I guess anything else until we move before we move on.
I think I'm good with the NHL.
All right. Uh, I guess now we'll move on to the NWHL, which started this past weekend. I know Ben, you've been covering it a lot recently. So do you want to recap what's been going on in the league?
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting. They've played 4 game days now. Thursday night is going to be their 5th game day. Um, we've seen the start of the Toronto Six, is the team I've been following mostly. I've watched most of the games, but I've watched all the Toronto games, and they look really good. Um, they got shut out in their first game, and they blew a big lead in their second game, to lose in overtime. But since then, they played twice and they won both, including a third period comeback against Boston, which all the Leafs fans, who are also Six fans, were appreciative of, certainly, because Leafs can't beat Boston. So um, the Six might as well. Then they also won last night, 4-2 against the Buffalo Buttes. So yeah, the Six are rounding into shape. They're now second in the standings, and definitely looking interesting. I think they're gonna make the playoffs in their first season. Maybe even have a chance at finishing first place in the sort of initial round of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a big news, obviously, this today about the one of the teams. Did you want to say what happened?
Yeah, we heard a couple hours ago the Metropolitan Riveters out of New Jersey, I believe. Um, they are withdrawing from the tournament due to a COVID outbreak. They they played the Six in the Six's first ever game, I believe, and um, they're third place in the standings before they had to withdraw, um, which means the team on the outside of this playoff picture, I guess, now gets to come in, which looks like it'll be the Boston Pride. So hopefully everyone is safe and doing well with the Riveters. But unfortunate for them, they had to pull out of an already short 2-week season, and now they had to pull out with a week left. So pretty heartbreaking for them.
Yeah, it definitely seems unfortunate for. I mean, I know we've kind of. I think there's been a similar situation with this in other leagues, like last year, for example. I'm thinking about the MLS tournament, the MLS is back tournament when two teams had to pull out. I think it was Nashville and Dallas.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think it definitely is unfortunate. And right now, as you said, they were before dropping out. They were in third place, and they were looking good too. But yeah, just it's very unfortunate too, and hopefully, as you said, everyone's doing well.
yeah, for sure. Um, I believe they were supposed to play last night against the Buffalo Buttes, and then the Six were supposed to play the Buttes on Thursday today. But then when the Riveters couldn't play, they moved the Six game up to last night. So I think there's just one game on schedule tonight.
Yeah, and Toronto's actually been good too, right? I think I I don't know what specific like where they rank in the standings right now, but I think they've looked pretty good other than that first game they played when I think they lost their first game too. But yeah, they've been pretty good. Would you say that?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like they're 2-1-1. As I said, they lost their first game 3-0, I believe, and then the second game they lost 6-5 in a shootout. But since then they've looked really good from top to bottom. I think like they've been scoring a lot of goals, and defensively they've been amazing with Elaine Truly in net looking like possibly like the team's MVP this far.
Yeah, it's definitely been exciting too. I mean, there was a lot of more attention about the NWHL this year with the condensed season that they're having, and obviously with the platform that they're streaming their games on too. Of course, that being Twitch with all their games on there. I mean, I know I think if I'm not wrong, like when it comes to the playoffs, they're going to be on TV, which will be great for the league when they actually will be able to have it broadcasted on TV instead of people live streaming it on Twitch. But I mean, obviously, there's a lot of Twitch users, and yeah, it definitely helps out the league, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think having the league show the games for free on Twitch has been really really good. It's kind of cool to see the Twitch commentators interacting with people in the chat too, which is pretty cool. I think Twitch is maybe the way to go for some leagues in the future if they find a way to monetize it better. Um, you've had like close to 10,000 fans watching some games. I think averaging around 5 or 6,000. A couple of nights ago, when the Six went into the shootout, I think the audience jumped by about 1,000 people. So um, yeah, definitely good. And as you mentioned, the semifinals and the final will be on NBCSN in the States and possibly in Canada too, I guess. And then I think they're gonna be on Twitch everywhere else in the world. So definitely good to get some TV exposure as well.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens in the final weeks. Well, I mean, it's only a 2 week season. We can't wait to see what happens in
Yeah.
the when the final week comes next week, and whoever wins whoever wins the cup. But yeah, anything else before we move on to our final topic?
Nothing that pretty much covers it. I just want to add quickly. Like I think Toronto is going to be very good in this tournament if they can keep up their current form. And if you're interested in watching it, as we both mentioned, it's on Twitch .tv/NWHL. So definitely worth a watch. And next game is on Saturday, so definitely tune into that.
For sure. Yeah, and I guess now as I said, we'll move on to our final topic, which has been a heated discussion with people on Twitter, and I mean, obviously, it's been crazy with the Olympics, which and a report came out last week as I think it was it Japanese officials, if I'm not wrong, saying it privately that they were going to cancel the games, but the IOC came back right away and said that that was a false article. But yeah, I guess what have you made about with the IOC preparing for this what potential Olympics in July?
Yeah, it was interesting the sort of how quickly that story flipped. Like it was Reuters reporting on it as well. Reuters being one of the most trusted, I guess, outlets for this kind of stuff. And um, so the next day, hearing the IOC and the COC, the Canadian Olympic Committee, um, also saying like we're committed to holding these games, and as far as we're aware at the moment, we're gonna be playing the games. So um, I was a little bit surprised after hearing the report the night before. Yeah, like when I heard that the Olympics were making a statement, I was kind of like, oh, here we go. Here's the official cancellation, and then ended up being the exact opposite of that. So in a way, I'm excited. I do hope the games go ahead still, of course, as long as everyone's safe and it makes sense to do so. But um, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that that's how quickly this story turned around.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, like coming from a trusted source, like I mean, considering that they just turned it down right away, it was kind of surprising to see that happen. But I think if they even were to announce some kind of cancellation, I don't think it would be this early, like 6 months before the when it's
Yeah.
supposed to start, when the Olympics are supposed to start. But yeah, I guess in regards to the planning with all this Olympics so far, I know obviously health should be on the top of that list for the IOC and the Japanese government right now. When everyone flies to Tokyo, come like early July when it starts when it starts late July, I should say, the Olympics. But yeah, I was kind of surprised as you said when when I saw this article, and how quickly it was just shut down by the Olympics.
Yeah, no, like I imagine we're not going to hear too much more about this unless they make a decision quickly. I imagine we're going to be waiting till about maybe March again, like last year. I believe it was mid March when Canada pulled out, and then a couple of days later the whole games got postponed. So my guess is we're going to have to wait until about March to hear about this, unless the situation is so bad that they have to cancel earlier than that. Obviously, hopefully not. Um, like you said, there's a lot of logistical issues I think to worry about at the moment. How will athletes get there? How will athletes um, will there be some kind of bubble, I guess, with athletes when we get there, or when they get there, rather? Um, is it possible to do a bubble with 10,000 athletes and 20,000 coaches? Probably not. Not to the same extent as the NHL or NWHL or whoever. Um, so it'll be interesting. I think it's probably the easiest way to say it. That's what happens over the next couple of weeks and months, and hopefully these games go ahead. Like money is obviously going to be the factor here, I think, more than anything. But I wouldn't be surprised as well if we see countries start to pull out or sort of announce their intentions to pull out should the health situation get worse, like we saw with Canada and Australia, I believe, last year, were the sort of the two to do ahead of the IOC decision.
Yeah, I obviously hope to like that they can have the safe Olympics, and obviously, as you said, there's a lot of planning. I think that still has to be done. But if I'm not wrong, I think they're going to present sort of like a safety protocol, like all their protocols in early February. So we might, find out sooner than later what their plans for, putting everybody in the Olympic Park, and how they're gonna sort that all out. We'll have to, I guess, we'll see in early February, as some people are saying, but. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of hurdles they still have to clear, and I think obviously one of the big things is the vaccine, which I think I heard some countries are actually going to vaccinate all their athletes before they go to Tokyo for the Summer Olympics. But I think it'll be interesting to see how that would kind of happen with how some certain countries are going to take the vaccine situation, if they're actually going to vaccinate their athletes before going to Tokyo. But with that and having everybody there, like 15, close to probably 15,000, 10,000, obviously, plus athletes and coaches. Yeah, it will definitely be a challenge, but I mean, we'll just have to see if they can, if Tokyo can get through everything.
And I've spoken to a couple of athletes over the last couple of months. I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, um, and a couple of them have said they won't be jumping the line to take a vaccine to go to the Olympics. Like they've the two or three I've spoken to have all said like the healthcare workers need it first, people in long term care homes need it first, and if they're asked to jump the line, they said they're not going to do it. So um, I guess it also partly depends in Canada anyway on what the rest of the vaccine rollout looks like, of course, and um, in an ideal situation, I guess everyone will be vaccinated and healthy and safe, and this Olympics will go ahead in some kind of modified bubble format, I guess. But as you mentioned, I guess in early February, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it will hopefully we'll find out sooner than later, because obviously time's ticking with only 6 months to go
Yeah,
with this Olympics. So or I should, yeah, under 6 months now. But yeah, we'll just have to see how this goes, and obviously COVID can turn this thing around. Like, they can obviously change their decision, but obviously they are committed to hosting an Olympics, and hopefully they solve every issue that there is with COVID in general. And yeah, that hopefully we'll be seeing the Olympics go on in July.
yeah. As you mentioned, like less than 6 months. I think the games are supposed to start on July 23rd, I believe. So less than 6 months away, and I guess the time is now to make this decision. And um, I'm definitely not jealous of the people in that position who have to make arguably, I guess, one of the biggest sporting decisions of their careers, probably, and potential to have a lot of impact on a lot of people's lives and careers. So um, it's going to be an interesting few weeks, I think.
For sure. Well, obviously, if anything comes up with in early February about the development of this Olympics, we'll obviously bring it to you here on OTS. But yeah, we'll just have to keep a lookout for that. Yeah, I guess anything else though before we before we conclude this episode?
One more thing, I guess. Like, as you uh, kind of mentioned as well, like we're not that far away from the next Olympics after that as well. Like
Yeah.
the following Olympics in 2022 are due to start on February 4th, 2022. So about a week and 1 year from now. So they're going to be in Beijing, China as well. So um, the logistical concerns, I suppose, with that sort of region are going to be persistent. I almost wonder, will we see those games be postponed? Will those games be? I don't think those games will be canceled. I don't think we're going to see those games get canceled at all. I think if they can't happen next year, maybe postponed to 2023 if they absolutely have to. But um, I'm hoping that by 2022, about a year and 1 week from now, I think um, hopefully we're good to go.
Yeah, I think obviously it's too early right now to tell if how COVID's going to be in a year.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think I would say definitely right now they would go on. I wouldn't see any issue in, I mean, in a
yeah,
year right now. Hopefully, we've learned more about COVID come a year from now, and a lot. Hopefully, most of the world has been vaccinated at that time, and yeah, we'll just have to see what happens come that time. But I guess yeah, if there's nothing else to say about the Olympics, I guess that concludes episode 23 of OTS. Thank you guys for watching this episode. My name's Matthew Lean Bruni,
my name is Benedict Rhodes.
and thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you next time.